My journey started when I was 18 years old, and I got introduced to drugs at 18. And from 18 to 52, that was my lifestyle. At first, it was like a casual thing. You know, we were couples. My kid's father was a military man, and he was 8 years older than me. He was 23, I was 18. And I had my first child at 18. And so the group of people that he hung out with were older people. So I couldn't go into clubs, I couldn't do any of that. So we would sit around on the weekend and drink alcohol, sniff cocaine, and play cards. And that's what we did from house to house every weekend. That's what we would do. And one day, one of my friend girls introduced me to crack. She came to the house, and it was during the time with Richard Pryor and the ether and all that stuff going on back in the 80s. And she had this soda bottle, and she was wrapping it up, and I was like, what are you doing? And she said, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this, you know, and I thought, yeah, I will, I'll try. And immediately, I didn't want to work no more. I didn't want to do nothing but sit around and do this. And back then, that's when HIV and AIDS arrived. And everybody was stricken with AIDS, and I was a big girl. I was 210 pounds. I was a big girl, and I went from 210 to 90 pounds soaking wet, you know, and I had to tell my mom, because we had just lost my sister to HIV and AIDS, and my sister was an intervened drug user, and gay, so that population was struck with HIV and AIDS back in. So I told my mom I was sick, that I had AIDS. I didn't want my mom to know that I was on crack cocaine, because it had taken everything away from me. My identity, it had taken everything, and I didn't want her to worry about having to bury another child, you know. And so I went on with that scenario, making people think that I was sick when I was actually on drugs. That led me to a lifestyle of robbing. Because I ain't know nothing about going out there trying to make me some money to get me some drugs, but I knew that I could run anybody's fast food restaurant. I knew I could manage that, and I knew I could get my hands on their money, and I knew I could talk my way into anything pertaining to money. I could do that. I could do that very well. And so I managed all these fast food restaurants all around Raleigh, and I got these managers to trust me, and you know, and when we get a new manager, that was my target, because they already trust me. So the new manager, I'll let them close the shift, and I'll go in the store at the end of the night, and I'll take the whole money bag. And when they come in the next morning, well, I wasn't on the scene. We didn't have all these cameras and high-tech stuff we got there in restaurants, so it was easy to go back in there and go in the store, and, you know. Yeah, it was them, you know, because they trust me. You know, I wasn't at work today, you know, I wasn't there. You know, and so I got this one manager, you know, we had the safes and the floors back in the day, and she couldn't open. I got her to give me the combination at Burger King. And when she would be in the morning setting up her registers, I would go in the back and go in the safe and take 2, 3 money bags and make biscuits all morning. I'm pregnant with my son, and so I'm addicted to drugs, and I got all this stuff going on. But I know I got this money, so I'm gonna work all day, because you're not gonna pinpoint me to anything. I'm not gonna tell on me. You gotta catch me, you know, that's what type of person I was. But anyway, I didn't go back to work, so they immediately assumed that was me. I was on probation, and so I didn't go back to work. So they charged me with embezzlement. Burger King charged me with embezzlement. I went to court on the 30th day of being locked up, and nobody showed up, so they dropped all the charges. I was guilty as charged, but they dropped the charge. That was another escape to get back out there and do some more damage to somebody. And I did Bojangles. I became the manager for Bojangles. And I always got to work on the weekends, because the money don't have to be until Sunday. So that gives me all weekend to play with their money, all weekend. So me and my kids' daddy, we would flip their money all weekend. And by Sunday evening, I would have their deposit to put back in the bank before Monday morning. Got so greedy, you know, they caught up with us, and I ran, and we had a TV show at home called you know, they got the America Most Wanted, where at home we had the Carolina Most Wanted, and I was on it. Raleigh, North Carolina. My mom called me and said, what have you done? This was, see, Brandon was 95. And my mom said, what have you done? And I was like, what do you mean? She said, you're all over the TV. The police want you. So I ran, and I went to Chapel Hill. I hung out in Chapel Hill, and I called my mom to ask for my income tax return. She's like, yeah, it's here, but they had my mom's phone wired, unbeknownst to me. And so I go strutting up there with my Walkman on and my dope in my shoes, and the bondsman jump out the car and say, Cheryl. And I said, Mom, tell that man my name ain't Cheryl. I don't know who he talking about. And my mother looking at me like, my child done lost her mind. And I jumped off the porch and I ran. And they didn't catch me. And I ran, then I ran for some years before they caught me. You know, and my mom was like, turn yourself in. I'm tired of them coming to my house looking for you. They sat outside my house. I'm just sick of it. You got to turn yourself in. And at this time, I told you I was pregnant. So I had a son. His name is Brandon. And I go to Chapel Hill and I go to this shelter and I befriend this lady and I tell her who I am and I tell her what I got going on, but I got this baby. And I don't want nobody to take my baby. Could you promise me you'll take my baby? And she said, yeah, unbeknownst to me, she was homeless. She didn't have a birth certificate to register my son into this shelter. So the shelter said, we give you 24 hours to contact somebody, or we're gonna put them in DSS custody, but I'm in jail. And I called my mom and I said, Mom, I got a baby, I got a son. His name is Brandon. He's with this lady, could you please go get him? She tell the bailiff, no, she crazy, she ain't got no baby. And I'm saying, Mom, if you don't go get him in 24 hours, the state gonna take him. And so my mom says, no. And then about 2 hours later, they wake me up and they say, your mom is on the phone. And I said, Mom, I have a son. His name is Brandon. He's 18 months old. Please go get him. Because if you don't, the state gonna take him.